How are you?
I am here. I'm good. I'm grateful for it all of the things. Shout out to emergency wigs, gang gang.
It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. I love it. Okay, do it.
Yeah,
It said,
accomplishment
oh,
different.
ow. Oh my gosh, we crazy.
If
We
I had one thing I'd be grateful for today, it is for emergency wigs. Shout out to the emergency wigs.
oh gosh, listen.
Who wouldn't finna bump her ends today?
Oh gosh, it looks beautiful.
Thank you, Brown.
Yes.
How are you? Are you ready to dive into our lives today? Another moment of vulnerability.
Oh gosh, the vulnerability. Yeah, I'm ready. It's always one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I don't know. I feel like every time we cross one threshold of like something else happens where it's like, okay, level up time now.
Yeah.
Dang, like you didn't even give me a minute.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But I did take a nap, and so that's good. So I'm I need to have a nap.
I know, old lady.
Grandma needs a nap, so I'm good. I'm well rested, and so yes, so we good.
All right. Well, you got to take the wheel for a minute because, as usual, all the streams are doing what they do. So you can introduce what I spreaded the news.
Absolutely. So welcome. If you are not familiar with Elevate and Relate, welcome to Elevate and Relate. This is the pod stream for like-minded and light-minded people. And this is a place where we have collaborative conversations about all the stuff you're thinking about but afraid to talk about. I am Jasmine Meadows, and I'm an intuitive mindset coach. And so what that means is basically I work with you to help shift your perspective on how you think about you. And so I do that with my spiritually given gifts of reading energy to identify what the root is so that we can actually overcome that and get you to living your best self from your higher self. Okay. So hence the intuitive part. So that is me. And my beautiful co-host.
All right. Well, I am Nina Carr. As you can see, my title changed a little bit because I did some soul searching and realized and niche down a little bit more to what I do. I'm a cognitive behavior coach. I basically help people find the power in their cognitive behavior, otherwise known as their brain, to be able to reach their potential life or their favorite version of themselves. And also, I teach people how to market their businesses. But yes, I am glad to be here. I love coming to talk to you guys today. We're having some technical difficulties, so I hope people can still join us on YouTube because all of the Facebook lives were just like, phew.
Really? Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
This is my avert crisis face. Well, yours worked. That's nice. Yours is working on your
Is it working? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're the only one that survived
So basically, if Nen is not here to save the day, I know nothing about technology. So
I know.
I'm here. I don't know. I can't help. I'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna give good vibes. Good vibes. Good energy.
Yeah, so we'll hope people catch on, but yeah, it did not, but it's cool. We're gonna make it do what it do either way. Right. But if not, there's always the recap. But yeah, it's fine. We're still going to tell our story just because it's, what's in us to do. We're just going to pray that we have people that join us. If you are able to join us, please say hi so we know we are not talking to no one.
Talking to ourselves. Like,
oh, I know. Like literally the only live that worked is yours.
What?
Yeah. Oh, YouTube is working, I think. But yeah. Yeah, the YouTube is working. So it's YouTube and yours is the only ones we got. So we don't know.
Lord.
The people got to come through for us today.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
But whatevs, we're here. Let's get into it. As you probably know, audience, we are here for the levels of surrender. We are kind of piggybacking off of the last episode that we had, where we talked about ground zero growth, and we shared our personal stories, got real vulnerable, and real open about our personal encounters with our lowest points in lives. You guys shared some great insight, great info on yours, and we had a really good conversation. But the highlight of the conversation was talking about the necessity of being in a state of surrender in your growth. So we felt that this would be a great episode to have right after, to kind of talk about and kind of continue the conversation in a way, to talk about the importance again of surrender, how we surrendered or surrendering. We're both in forms of surrender right now. And we wanted to share our experiences, and we wanted to, get your experiences too. It's just like,
what? I'm like, why switch? What is going on?
StreamYard is going to get such a thumbs down.
Because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm such a grandma. I'm like, wait, what just happened?
I don't know, but what else? It's like, but yeah.
We're surrendering.
Yeah, we're surrendering. So yeah, actually, this is a good time. We gotta surrender, and we gotta remember why we are here. We are here because we want to, use our voice. We want to share our stories. Somebody gonna like it. Somebody gonna watch it. And if nothing else, we're gonna have amazing clips. So hopefully, because people don't like when they have to click things. So hopefully, no choice.
God forbid. God forbid.
It's like, wow. But yeah. All right, let's get into it, Jasmine. All right, so we're talking about surrender. So what does surrender mean for you?
Ooh, so, okay. Surrender means a lot. It's very complex, actually. It's more simpler than just saying release the control, right? Because obviously that's a layer of it. But I think the best way that I can capture it, we're going to have story time. Can we have story time?
Absolutely.
Story time. Okay. So surrender is layered and it's complex. It's similar as ground zero and all the things, right? So essentially for me, my idea of surrender is being able to, and where I'm at now, because I'll say, I went for the past couple of years, I've been in surrender mode. I always like, my surrender is on fleek right now because I feel like I have mastered kind of surrendering the how, like how things are going to come together. How is this going to work? How I now don't care about the how, okay? Because the how won't come together. I care about the now because that's where my power is in this present moment. So I've mastered that. But recently, I kicked it up a notch with my agility testing and my surrender. So what happened was I have recently encountered learning how to surrender to my body, even when it's against my ego. And this was very tricky and very difficult because for me, it was something that I wasn't prepared for in a sense where it's not what I wanted. Right. I was prepared, but I had the signs. So what I mean by that, and we're about to get into it, is this. Recently, I decided to call off my engagement. And I know, girl, I know, whole shock. Here we go. I know, look at you, so surprised. I can't. So let me tell you, because
we talked for 2 hours yesterday.
I know. Because I wasn't even going to share this. And then a whole half an hour ago was like, oh, sis. I pulled cards and it was like, you're going to have to tell your story. So now I got part 2. So recently, just all my notes too. Let me tell you, it's like live, okay? So recently I decided to call off my engagement, okay? And I had to sit with myself on why and how and all the things. So here's the story. I'll give you a condensed version or whatever. Okay. So I met my ex-fiance, and I know he was like, my soulmate, all the things. I dreamed him up, all down to the name, as you know the story, right? So it was wonderful. And over the course of my getting to know him and getting to know the relationship and all the things, there were certain things that would come up that would be triggered or that, I would feel in my gut. Like, she said, I don't know if this is right. And so, you know, that feeling you have when you first meet somebody and you're not sure, it's too good to be true. You're like, you know, I have self-sabotage tendencies. So I'm like, I don't know about this fear thing. You know, it just can slide all up in here. So I wasn't sure. Amongst all the gifts I have, I also predict through dream. So I was having these dreams. So I kept like, you know, I was like, I'm just going to wait and see. Like, I don't know, you know, we'll just wait and see. So I waited. And then a few months later, a dream that I had come to fruition. So I was like, oh, see. And we talked through it. And then I was just like, you know, this is new. It's early. You got to work through the kinks, you know, you got to get it all out kind of thing.
I'm still, okay. I'm listening.
I know. So I know. I'm kind of over it now. It happened, like, you know, I'll tell you, you know, whatever. So I know. So I know. So basically what ends up happening was I kept having that same feeling. I kept having it throughout the course of the relationship. And it was like, even still, it was like the only thing. And the reason why it became so prominent for me was because I don't measure relationships by perfection, right? I measure it by progression. So what's progressing in this connection? And the only thing that was progressing in this connection was my intuition and my gut, and it was getting louder and louder and louder. And I was just like, what the heck? So
oh man, the timing.
I said, you know what? I said, this is crazy. So I remember what happened. It was and literally, this is over a span of 2 weeks. Okay, y'all. So this is like brand new. This is not like, oh,
it is brand new to me today. I just want to keep adding that part. We talked on the phone. You know what? Okay, I'm listening.
So I sat and I said, well, let me just figure this out, right? So I was sitting with it for a while, and what ended up happening was I had realized, like, you know, this is you can't keep having these same feelings and nothing's going on. And so then I had another dream. And this time when I had the dream, it was so vivid. It was like, if you ignore this, girl, okay. Now we don't. Now it's so clear.
Universe threw that sandal at you.
So I said, yeah, girl, come on now. So I said, all right, fine. So I pulled cards because I'm still not. I'm like, let me do a reading on myself. What's going on? So I do a reading, and the energy comes up. Like, hey, okay, it's time. This is it's time's up. Y'all did y'all thing. Y'all are not aligned no more. And it's like, what you mean? How are you gonna bring a soulmate and say I'm not aligned? So I'm like, what is this? So I had all the reasons, and all the energy that I was feeling from my gut came up in the cards, came up in the dream. And so I confronted, you know, him on it and talked to him about what I was feeling and all the things. Because the thing about it was, when you have your gut, your stomach, your body, and your heart, and your mind telling you something, but we govern ourselves by this logical sense of the evidence isn't here yet, so we can't.
Absolutely.
We can't
oh my God, I was just talking about that 30 minutes ago.
So it's one of those things. So, and this is also why people say hindsight's 2020, because it's only 2020 waiting for that dense logical evidence to show up. Eons ago. So I said, okay, I see. So I'm like, all right, damn. So here we are. And so now I got him on the phone with face. I'm like, now listen, I need you to be honest, because now my ego needs me to be wrong. My ego needs my body to be wrong, because it's not aligned with what my ego wanted. Because I'm like, this is what is this? So I, you know, and so now I'm in investigate mode. So I'm asking questions, and I was very calm. I was very proud of myself, actually. So I'm just like, okay, but he failed all the cues. Couldn't look me in the eye, couldn't see the responses. It was just like, girl, bye. So I knew at that moment, like, you can't keep doing this. And I had to sit with myself to figure out, like, what are you mad at anyway? Like, what really upset you the most? And I had to approach it from a space of intelligence to a degree, because my body is my truth too. Even if logically you don't see the evidence. And a lot of times your body is telling you things and showing you things, but because you didn't align with it, or you don't like what it's telling you.
Run around the screen.
You don't like what it's telling you. You ignore it, and you like, now I'm gonna wait. And I thought back to all the times where the red flags was visual based on my body, but I did not. I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Why? That benefit of the doubt is the doubt you're giving yourself, because your body's telling you. Your body's not going to give you a headache and then it show up as a stomach ache. It's not going to have you have a stuffy nose and make you feel like you got a stomach bug. I mean, it could, but most of the time it's allergies. Like there are always going to be these alarm systems that your body tells you. And so my test was, are you going to honor your body, right? Or are you going to succumb to your ego? Because what really is aligned there? And so I had to figure out what was triggering me, because I knew I was overgiving in the connection. I knew all the things. And it was like, girl, you upset because someone is, you're overgiving? You mad because you overgiving? Like, that's what you holding on to? Or, and then I said, like, what am I really triggered by?
Yep.
What I was triggered by was my inner child. That said I wasn't enough. That's what I was mad at.
That's came out the
now listen, but I started to understand and dissect, like, I'm not mad because I feel unworthy. I'm not mad because you were even a little dishonest. I mean, yeah, you're dishonest. I felt it. I saw it months and months before. But I'm mad because now I got to have this conversation with this inner child over here and tell her that she's worthy, she's enough, she's all the things. And it's important for you to be able to do that, because if not, then you start repeating the cycle.
Absolutely.
So this level of surrender, I will tell you, has surpassed.
Period.
I'm like, it surpassed what I have been going through, because I'm like, oh, I got it. Yeah, I don't know how these bills gonna get paid. They gonna get paid.
That's different. Y'all gotta tell you at Super Saiyan level, baby. You up here, because listen, it's the introspection for me.
But here's what I'll say before I wrap this anecdote up, right? Is essentially I had to look at what my body said after I made the decision.
Yep.
After I made the decision, my body went like back to normal. It was like,
ain't that crazy?
And I was like, oh, I thought I was gonna go through changes. I missed the routine, and that's what it comes down to. It's a routine, right? But I'm like, dang, we could have new routines. Our new routine could be something different, boo. And I knew the narrative to change, but my body is what I was like, dang, sis, we're good. We're good. So yeah, honor your body, please. That's what I'm learning. And I'm learning how to surrender to what my body tells me, even if it doesn't align with what my ego says, because that ego will get you into some situations and stuff that you don't level up from, that you don't need to go back to.
You about to have us skipping stuff. Okay, because we got to talk about, you know what, we're surrendering, okay? Let's talk about that, right? Because that is so freaking huge. And I feel like we really, really, really have to focus on knowing the difference between the ego and your body's check engine light. Like, your body's control panel will tell you. And it's like now, and it's funny because I promise you, I just talked about this earlier to my friend Lindsay, actually, when I just comment. I was like, because there's a girl and I have no issue with her. Like, she's done nothing to me, right? But my body just was not sitting right. And I just ended up blocking her on my phone, unfriending her on Facebook, and they're like, well, why? And I was like, she just didn't feel safe. And do I have, to somebody, to the world, that would look like, oh, that's fucked up. Like, why she didn't do anything to you? I'm like, but why do we have to wait until it takes something drastic? Why do we have to wait until, like you said, where we're at the point where we're just giving chance after chance, when our body is like, and then we got to get the universal sandal thrown at us and shit, try to be like, why do we have to wait? Like, and it's like we always wait. Well, I used to really always wait until
I did too.
The last straw where I was crying. Like, I can distinctly remember times I was begging people, like, please stop hurting me. Like, I see the good in you. Stop hurting me.
Yes.
Like, I've done it like in tears, like just at my most humblest moments. And I'm sure we all can guess what happened next. They still hurt me. And the audacity of me to be shocked and appalled, as if My body didn't tell me. And it's just so crazy because when you truly get in tune with yourself and you get that self-awareness and you start to feel it on a different level, you start to feel the ailments that come with stress. You start to feel, oh, my back is hurting, and I've been learning, what parts of your body will signal what. Like if you repress emotions, it's going to show up in your lower back. If you have anxiety, it's going to show up in your upper back. Like your body literally has built-in signals and we ignore them 95% of the time, and we wait until why do we always have to wait until the outside world tells us something to believe it? Like,
yeah,
like it's definitely, like you said, an ego thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you get so conditioned too, because if it doesn't make logical sense, then it's like it's not real. And we've been conditioned.
Yeah.
Don't believe, if you don't see it, you don't believe it. But let me tell you something, because energy works very differently. Okay, you feel it before you see it. If I have a light switch on, and when I go to switch my light on, I am believing and knowing and expecting that light's gonna come on. Now I see the inner workings of the currents that are going through all the wires, because there's some stuff happening before that light actually comes on. That light coming on is the last part, the densest part of whatever. Everything else happened before then. That is how energy works. So I have to learn how to honor my truth in my body, because that is that's also valid,
Yes.
and so I can't always wait for that logical proof. And if we do wait for that logical proof, it's a lot harder for you to surrender. It's going to be a lot harder. And then you're repeating cycles.
Yeah. And you're having to surrender and consider so much more when, and then you have to build back that self-trust. Then you have to forgive yourself, and you got to do all this extra stuff when you can just listen to your body. And it's like, I had to ask myself in that process, for example, with the girl, I'm like, as you said, my ego was like, no, that's fucked up. Like, people gonna look at you funny. People gonna say this, people gonna say that. But I had to ask myself, what value do the people that are talking provide for your life? What value does she provide for your life to give all this consideration? I have no issue with the girl. She's done nothing to me. My body was saying if she's not safe. And everybody will probably be like, oh no, that's messed up. But the beautiful part of it, I don't give a fuck. And you can say what you want to say. I said what I said, okay? Or she said what she said. If my body does not, and I'm just in that space, and that's what the surrender is all about, is trusting your body, number one, your body, in my opinion. You may have a different number one, but that's my number one. Because I feel like the body, everything is connected. This is your vessel. This is your vessel for all of the things. And without this, you can't be here, So for me, it's number one, to listen to your body and also just trust yourself and trust that everything is going to work out for you the way it should. There are no wrong mistakes. You may have unfavorable results, but there are no mistakes. Everything works as it should. And it's like when you surrender, you have to really, really, really hold on to that hard, because like you said, things are going to make sense. Logical sense is going to be out the window, because people are going to be like, but you should be stressed. And you're like, but I'm not. But you should be crying. And you're like, but I'm not.
Yeah. One of the things that I absolutely learned was that, I learned a lot over 2 weeks. I'm telling you, 2 weeks, I done turned into somebody whole new. I don't know.
Clearly.
I know. But I will say, because I was gathering all the intel, what was going on.
Yeah. I got you. But no, you needed time to process it within yourself. It's actually the good thing, the good way to solve it.
It's amazing, actually. Yeah. Because, a lot of it is you really start to understand you at a different level. And I think we don't do that enough. And, like I said, I feel like understanding my body and understanding its cues and understanding all the things is very important. And I don't know if there's a hierarchy of what you would do first or last in terms of like surrendering, but I think it's establishing trust. If you can find a way to establish trust, because the thing is, my trust with my body didn't come when I started trusting the universe, or when I trusted my gifts, and when I started like hearing and feeling and all the things. My trust actually started with this higher divinity and this higher thing, consciousness, and understanding the interconnectedness, and it gradually grew. And then for me later, like now when I'm in situations, because the circumstances they're gonna still be the same. I feel like I'm in the same circumstance, right? But I have a different response because I'm in a different layer of level of surrender of understanding.
Yeah.
So I have another level of trust. So whereas before it was very like, I need to see it in order to know, because otherwise I have this gut, but I'm feeling, but I don't know, or my heart's telling me something and I'm having dreams and all the things. This time I honored that over. I let that override, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely shifts. And it's like, and it's definitely a different experience as you enter different levels of surrender too. Because at first it's like a little itch, and then you're like, I don't know, that didn't feel right. You know, then that
Right.
itch turns into a tug, and then the tug turns into a yank. And it's like you start off with the itch, and then it's like you start off with a yank.
Right.
As you level up, it's like, no. You're like, okay. And you just say, okay, buddy, okay, situation, whatever. And it's like, it's a beautiful place to be, you know, when it comes to everything going wrong and you're just cool, you know. But then
Yeah.
it's also a scary place to be because you're confused and you're like, but I feel like I should be scared right now, or I feel like I'm not reacting enough because you are recovering from, you know, years of reacting instead of responding.
Yes. Yes.
It's so
Absolutely.
crazy. And it feels unnatural, but it's funny because it feels unnatural at first, but it's actually the
The
most
most.
natural
Yeah.
experience.
Yes. Because once you make those decisions, it's like, I just feel, you feel good. Like, I don't know, I feel good. I'm not gonna lie to
Yeah.
you. Like, I'm like, I feel more focused actually. So, oh no. I'm like, oh no, it's just me. Oh no, it's just me. You know, y'all know I'm not technically savvy at all. I don't know. I'm like, we need a team. Like,
How's that working?
oh gosh, talk about surrender. Okay. Like, we surrender in here. So we're having technical problems and we're surrendering to whatever the universe is trying to get us to do. So yeah. So anyways, so anyways, it's just me. But for y'all listening, I just was like, whew, you have to surrender to what your body says, how you feel. And the other thing too that I was learning as I was going through the entire process was that, you know, it's okay to pivot and to shift too. Like, there are a lot of lessons, there are a lot of layers to surrender, because when things fall away, there are always better things that are coming into play for you, right? So on one hand, I was feeling away because, you know, my ego was bruised. And I had to sit and think about it too. Like, well, if this person said to my face, hey, I don't want this anymore, what difference would it make? My body already gave me the cues to tell me, hey, you already felt it. So there's certain things that I had to sit with myself to understand, like, what was I really upset at? And what's coming? Because when things fall away, and because I have that higher perspective of understanding that when things fall away, better things are coming into play, I know that, okay, something better is coming. But I don't need to repeat this lesson again, and I don't need to repeat the same thing after I've already leveled up from it. You know, it's like taking a CDL class or a test all over again after you passed it. Why would you do that? You already know you passed it. Why would you repeat a real estate license if you don't have to, right? Just because, like, you know, it's like I've already leveled up from that area, and so that is also okay. And so it was good to have that time, and it was good to be able to surrender to that, because, you know, it's hard when you're in the moment, and when you're not thinking from a higher perspective, it's very easy to allow your emotions to govern you, where you end up making these decisions that aren't always necessarily for your highest good. So so that is so that's basically what I ended up learning from the surrenders aspect. And then I think too, when it came to just like my actual takeaways from my connection, there were a few things that I learned there, because essentially, you know, I still was struggling with the fact that, oh, oh, Nana, get out of here. Like, girl, fix it. But I was still struggling with the fact that, one, you know, I had to deal with, why did someone bring someone into my world? You know, why did somebody, you know, do all these things, and then it didn't, it fell short, right? And so there were a few things aside from like surrendering to my body that I did learn that I think is so instrumental because we don't give ourselves permission to actually have these moments. And the first thing that I will share is that, one, as I mentioned, this person was my soulmate. I was like conditioned to think that, okay, yeah, we're going to be together, all the things. But I learned that sometimes just because you are fated to meet doesn't always mean that you are destined to be. And I had to sit with that because that was struggling for me too. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Sometimes you are not aligned anymore because you're digging deep in your soul trying to figure out who you are, and this person's not ready to go to that they're not ready to go to that layer. You can only meet somebody as deep as you've met yourselves. You know, if they haven't met themselves at a deep place, then they're not going to meet you there either because they're scared to go there, you know. So you're going to be misaligned at that point anyhow. So I think there was a lot of lessons that I learned from that surrendering to my body that I had to sit with and identify from a place of, you know, intelligence and a higher sense of perspective rather than the egocentric self that I said, well, do you know who I am and why did you do that? Like, why did you trigger me? So yes. Oh, you're back. Oh, hey.
Yes, I am back.
I'm like, you have sound.
I know. You're like, okay, I got you. No, I was listening. I listened on my phone, so I'm tracking. Okay. But yes, I agree wholeheartedly. You know, so I wanted to share my level of surrender that I'm at right now. So for me, mine is different. So as we shared in the last episode, I've been through a lot of things. We both have, right? So for me, my level of surrender is being in a place, a new space where I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Okay, that's basically that.
Those are fun.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So it's crazy how the mindset shift has worked in this process because basically, long story short, you know, I've been through a lot of things, and one day I was just like, bro, I feel stuck. I had a period, and it's like right before the full surrender, you just have this period of like, what do you call it? Like a purgatory period where you're just like, what is happening? Like, you just, everything just feels weird, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Fuck it. That's just what it is.
I go well.
Yeah, and so my span was like months long where I literally felt frozen in place. Like life was still life and things were still going, but for my personal experience, I literally felt frozen. I felt like I was stuck, you know, just in one place and I could not move. And I was frustrated. So I was talking to my therapist, and my therapist she brought it to light. And it's like when she said it, that light bulb came on, and she was like, wait. She was like, so what is the problem here? I said, well, the problem is, you know, things are starting to look up, but I still feel like, you know, nothing's, you know, I feel weird. I was like, I don't feel like I'm here. I kept telling her, I was like, I feel like I'm up here looking down at myself. I said, that's all I got. And it lasted for months. And I was so over it. I was crying at that point. I'm like, tell me what's happening.
Oh, God.
And so she said, because I just, it wasn't clicking. My brain was not working. I don't know what it was. Like, I just felt weird. And then finally she brought up and she was like, did you ever think about the fact that you have literally lived with some form of trauma your entire life until now? And she was like, you could have 110% been addicted to being traumatized. Absolutely. And now that you had to, she's like, you're going cold turkey. And when she said that, I said, oh my God. And it hit me because I was like, damn. She's like, you're so peace is so foreign to you because you're used. She's like, you don't. And then when she said this, it hit me. She's like, you don't have to run anymore. She's like, you don't have anybody to be combative with. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to explain yourself. You like what you do because, you know, I shifted the business to where I'm only dealing with my recurring. Like, I literally was dealing with no drama, and it felt so weird. Like, and it was to the point where I'm like, okay, now what? Like, I've never operated, you know, like plankton. I've never got to think I would get this far, you know? So I'm like, what do I do? And so the only thing was surrender. And it's like, you don't know shit. And that is probably the most powerful thing you can do right now is understand that you don't know anything and be open to everything and let it flow to you. Let it all flow. And I've been in a state of flow, right? And I've just been letting whatever my heart wants to do, my heart does. Whatever, I'm feeling, I let myself feel it fully. If I'm working on being present, and let me tell you, my body is responding like crazy. All of the habits that I have been having problems conquering are naturally fixing themselves. And
Good.
I literally am doing nothing except existing, and I'm like perfecting existing. And
It's the best feeling ever.
I swear, it's like, man, it's like you just want everybody to have some. If you could just inject everybody with some,
I'm telling you, it is the most, man, I swear to you, it's the most liberating feeling ever to just be. And I'll tell you, the only way I'm gonna give you breadcrumbs is by the universe. That's the only thing that's allowed to breadcrumb me is the universe. Listen. Because let me tell you, I wake up and I pulse check throughout the day to see how I'm feeling, what I want to do, because routines can be adjusted, new ways of being can be. And when you align with that and you sit with yourself in it, it comes to you. I've been in a state of flow for a few years now. And I'm like, that's why I'm like, oh, this is all new. Well, there's layers to surrender.
Yeah.
So but it's great because, again, it allows you that ability to learn you. I'm learning me on such a deep level, which is another part of surrender, which I think is the most beautiful thing, because the same way we take those same precautions with people in learning them, we have to do it to ourselves and with ourselves and for ourselves. Yes. Because you're never, ever going to really be able to surrender to what truly can flow to you, what you can truly magnetize to you, until you allow that flow state to just literally be, because things will flow to you, they'll flow away from you, and you have to be accepting of it. There's this accepting piece of surrender that people don't, it doesn't, they're like, yeah, I'm surrendering, but they get mad. I'm learning this acceptance of surrender when it comes to aligning my body with my higher self and bypassing my ego and shutting ego down. And that's a new part of acceptance. And it's hard to accept something that when you can't logically see what's on the horizon. You know something's gonna come better. You feel it. You just don't see it.
You don't know. Yeah. And you don't even worry about it anymore. You don't even care. You're just like, I'm here right now, and that's enough.
That's it. And so sometimes you gotta accept the disappointments. Accept those disappointments with grace. Accept those things that happen and that fall away, because you've leveled up from it. Change your perspective on it. Okay, this is falling away. So what I got next coming? Because that's literally what happened midway of my whole. I was like, well, what's coming?
Right. Man, it's like you truly understand placements, right? And it's like you truly understand that when one thing goes away, something's going to replace it. And then you got the part where you know that it's going to work for your good, whatever it is. And then the other part of surrender is it's going to work for your good, and you totally release caring about what it looks like. Like you're trying to get, and so it's like, I don't care what it looks like. I just know whatever it is. So then you like just shift the focus to just trying to see the hints when they're coming. And instead of actually trying to get the full picture, like I cannot tell you my full picture right now. To the logical world, they're like, but you have to have a plan. I'm like, or I can just exist in the now, and I can tell you what I want to do now. And that's enough for me, right? I'm in this place in my life where my existence is truly enough. My existence is more than enough. So it's like every interaction I try to make, it's like the same energy that I put into my goals before, I put that into my now all the time. So like if I'm going somewhere, like for instance, when my case worker came over earlier, she came to talk to me, help me with my budget or whatever. And she was like, you're just so happy. She's looking at my finances, right? And she's
like, why?
She's like, then I can give you 5 reasons why you should be happy.
Girl, bye.
You're just so happy. And oh Lord, Kiana, bye. Kiana don't mean by my budget, but I'll give her spotlight. right, because she's been on me for years, honey. But yeah, so she's looking at my stuff and she's like, there's so much. She's like, you're just so happy. She's like, she was just shocked. Like, so much you have to do, and you're happy because I'm happy just having and you start to realize the small things. I'm happy that I'm in the right mind to make these decisions. I'm happy because I am alive to make change. And it's like you just are grateful to be existing. And it's just like, I can't even explain it. You get this very deep gratefulness for just being you and being in whatever place that you're in, and you just know that you're going to change lives. You just know that who you are as you are is going to make a difference. And I don't know, I can't really explain it all the way.
Yeah,
it's an indescribable feeling, but a necessary one.
It is, and it gets stronger as you navigate it, honestly, because it seems like it's funny because to surrender really is releasing control on how things are coming to you. It's not giving up. It's not saying, oh, I don't want to do this or I can't do this. It's saying, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I have faith and I trust that it's going to work out for me, and letting it go. It is a set it and forget it type of thing. And when you start to understand, set it, forget it, it's going to come. It comes. Like today, I was trying to be responsible in my in my flow state. Speaking of budget, I was like, oh, let me just try to pay my car insurance, like with like the no money that I have.
Like, I'm a big kid.
Like, I have all these.
Let me cosplay as an adult real quick and pay my car insurance.
Let me be an adult. Like, let me just come down from Mars and like.
Yeah, I know. Let me cosplay as a human real quick and pay your earthly bills.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, and looking at my earthly account, like, ooh, okay, how that work? Because this was in Mars, and y'all didn't tell me I needed something. Okay, so basically, but when I went, they're like, oh, you already paid up. And I'm like, I did what? Who did that? Who, me? I was responsible. Who was responsible? I didn't do that. So it was just one of those things, because I was like, zero balance. Why? Is this a trick? Did they cancel my stuff? Like, like it was all these trick things. I was self-sabotaging my mind. Like, this is not real. But it was just one of those things where when you have an abundance of something, then you don't operate from a scarcity, because you've surrendered to know that, okay, I'm connected to this infinite possibility of whatever can happen. So because that's the case, that's what I'm attracting. I'm on that frequency. So you also have to be mindful of your frequencies when you surrender, because when you surrender to something, you don't want your ego to bring you to a place of where you've leveled up from within that frequency. If you're in a frequency state of having things flow to you, then you want it to flow to you. When you start sabotaging and doubting and, oh, this situation is distracting me from where I'm at, guess what? Now you're misaligning yourself, and you're taking yourself from that frequency of attracting what you envisioned and what you've been desiring to now going back to what you already leveled up from. So I have to be very conscientious of myself when that happens, because it's like, oh, well, it happened. That's great. I surrendered, and look at there. Now I'm done with the how, and that's all taken care of. So it's just like, all right, cool. Like it's a beautiful thing when you can allow it to happen. But
it's the allowing it to happen is the part that is hard. And so, you know me, I have to give my attention. But Kiana, also, I want to acknowledge her comment, because it was very relevant. She said, I mean, for real, letting any situation, let me highlight it, get to you, could paralyze you to make a move. So why let it consume us? Absolutely. And I feel like that's like it's something that you practice. Like, and it's like once you practice, just be like, you know what? It's all gonna work. It's all gonna work. And you just keep saying that, and eventually it just becomes a lifestyle. And I'm not saying that, you know, I don't have my moments where I get anxious, right? So that's what I want to talk about, is because she's on a different level than me, but I am like, I don't know what level I'm at. I don't even care, but I'm here, right?
Here. That's what matters.
I'm here. Matters. So we're gonna put it like this. My version of surrender, because I'm a body nerd. I like to do the body stuff. Emotions are so, when you really, really process what they are so beautiful, and they are so necessary. And it really makes me sad when people say I don't feel, or they say that I stopped feeling a long time ago. And I'm like, do you know the blessing you are taking away from yourself? Because when you truly process your emotions, you like get this level of trust. So I have my moments where you know, my surrender kind of defaults, not default, but it kind of went like it diminishes a little bit, you know? And so where I'm like, you know, I have my human moments because at the end of the day, I am going to be human and I am going to have feelings. And you know, there's going to be all these different things. But at the end of the day, I just sit with it. So whatever comes to me, I sit with it. I give myself the space, the time, and the vulnerability. Like I'm so open with my vulnerability now, and I love that about myself because I am in full understanding of the importance of emotions and how emotions actually help me, right? So when those moments come where I feel like I'm about to, you know, defer from my surrender, I sit with it and I say, okay, what are you feeling? And I actually, it's like I sit and have a conversation with myself, or should I say, with the different versions of myself, where I'm like, all right, inner child, what you on? What are we feeling? You know, what are you feeling? You know, what are you feeling, protector? What are you feeling, manager? Like, I have different, you know, and I've actually created avatars in my head for those people where we just have a staff meeting on what is going on, right? What are we feeling? What are we doing? What do you think the best? You know, I sprinkle logic in there when necessary, where it's like, okay, this is what you're faced with. What are we going to do? Let's make a plan, you know, because the way my life is set up, I have to always think and be quick on my feet. Like even just before here, I got a phone call, you know, things like that. And old me would have been stressed and not even been able to finish this show. I would have been out of it. But I said, okay, it'll get solved at some point. I calmly let that person know, you know, I'll get with you, you know, when the time is right. So with that being said, trusting, self-trust, boundaries, self-esteem is really necessary and has been necessary in my version of surrender because I have to believe in me, because there's going to be a lot of times where, you know, things aren't going to make sense. There's going to be a lot of times that people are going to let me down. It's going to be a lot of times people are going to walk away. And I have to always remember who I am. And I have to keep pouring into my self-esteem and reminding myself, you know, that I'm worth the work to myself, you know, because a lot of times we focus so much on, you know, the way people overlook us, but we don't realize how much we overlook ourselves and we reject ourselves, you know, prematurely before anybody else can. And the words that I say to myself, what am I saying to myself in this season? And I even tell people like, I can't vibe with you down there because I got to vibe up here so I can make it a norm to, you know, say the right things to me, because I am at a point where my self-talk is so important. How I treat myself, even how I look, how I feel, how I walk around is so important. How I live my life, because now I'm starting to really realize how important life is. I'm like, I'm deserve experiences and I have to change my environment to match my surrender, right? Because I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to have issues where, of course, I'm good, I don't care, whatever. But that doesn't mean go sit in the in the pit of drama. You know, you have to have an environment that is conducive. So it's like for me, I am just very picky about who is around me because I'm so committed to staying in this point of surrender. So now I have to really rethink my boundaries on everything. I have to rethink who I allow to talk to me, who has access to me, how often, how available am I making myself to other people? Because I need to give my space to stay in my surrender safely. I don't need people trying to come in and, you know, how people try to guilt you. Why you didn't call me back? Why are you gonna do that? Not right now.
Yeah. You definitely, I get it. And I feel the same way. I feel like for me it's slightly different but similar, because you still have to, I mean, I feel like for me my boundaries are so, I have to remember they're boundaries and not walls, and I need to go outside and I need to actually interact.
Yep.
And I can't just stay in the stratosphere. I actually need to ground myself and not look at the Milky Way.
You sound so annoyed about it.
Because you know, sometimes I like made my space of surrender so, it's so lit here that I like, I'm like, what? Like, what you want me to do? Go outside, food shop. We don't have food. Like outside, you gotta take us to school. So it's just, it's different for me. I think for my level of surrender and where I'm at now, it's really, it's actually, it's allowing the alignment of things to be what they are, because I feel like things are aligning. I don't get stressed out about things that don't work or don't work, because I know it's working out better somewhere else in another way. I don't get upset when things are like, you know, right now, like even in the state of like my health, I joke with them all the time, like my doctors, I'm turning into an alien. They don't know what's wrong with me. But I'm okay with it. I'm like, I feel great. So it's like, you know, there's all these different things that are happening. Like I just look at it so differently when it comes to how I surrender, what I'm surrendering to, and what it looks like in this stage. So for me, it's just like it's being, and it's also being able to be flexible with your plans, right? And being flexible with a pivot and understanding what that pivot is. And I think for me, I was so attached to this idea of once you get this is what it's supposed to be, even in the state of surrender, right? Because I had to have a level of surrender to get to where I'm at. But then there's also that agility testing that comes with it. Because it's like, well, do you give yourself permission to shift when the alignment is greater, when you've chosen better, when your partner or when your friend or when whatever your situation, your job, when that is no longer aligned with you? Are you gonna stay stuck? Because there's those opportunities even in surrender to get comfortable. And so there's also it can be very layered. And so I'm understanding the layers, and I'm understanding that even when it doesn't look the way I envisioned in surrender state, that I can still surrender to the next level of it. You know, because if I choose to want more and then I align with more, I got to shed something to get that more, even surrender. And so for me, it's really about being able to find the purpose in the pivot when you're surrendering, you know, like I want more. So of course I gotta share some stuff, you know, like it's what has to happen. So it's being okay with it and accepting it.
Yeah. It's just accepting it and trusting it, and just, I don't know. It's just like you get to a point where you're just like, whatever.
I will say it's one of the, once you do it and once you practice it and once you're comfortable with just being okay with being okay in whatever state that's in, because sometimes, you know, even when you're not okay, it's okay to not be okay in that moment. And the thing about emotions that is so important is you have to be mindful. Emotions are so important to involve, like to embody, to feel, but you also have to be mindful that when you're thinking through a situation, especially when you're talking to yourself, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So you be flared up about some stuff. You be saying some things, but you know logically something better is coming. When you know you can, when you actually sit. So I like to approach things with a level of curiosity when I'm in states of discomfort, because it's more like a discomfort rather than a catastrophe. And when it's a discomfort and when it is a, you know, that discomforting feeling, I sit and I say, well, what am I uncomfortable with? And now I approach it as if I'm talking and I'm analyzing parts of me to figure out what the root is, because that actually becomes a lot more conducive to actually getting to the root of what's the problem. And it actually helps you to kind of narrow things down and be like, okay, this is what's wrong. And then it doesn't seem so catastrophic. It's like, oh, I got to just deal with this. But because the change that we're not always in control of, that is where you get into this whole panic, the world's gonna end thing. And it don't be like that. It don't be like that.
I'm proud because I used to always been in the world's going to end phase, and now it's like it didn't really happen. But it's like for me, I break it down to, I just say, if I feel it, I allow myself to feel it. I allow myself to feel every bit of it, because I know that those feelings, even if they're negative, they're like my refining moments. Absolutely. And I'm like, this is what I tell myself when I have the negative feeling. This is the moment that's going to refine what I want, and it's going to really show me, or what they call it, a contrasting, you know, emotion of what I want, and to show me the importance of what I want, to show me how bad I want it, and to remember and anchor that in my memory that, okay, when you did X, this happened. Don't do X again. Pretty much. And then it literally stops there. So at that point, then I focus on, okay, this is what happened. This is how it made you feel. What is your prediction? What do you think is going to happen now? Right. So I always try to put the prediction in, it's something's going to work for my good. I don't really know what it is. I'll try, if I can pinpoint it, I'll try to pinpoint it. But I always try to shift the narrative, because old me would have been, as you said, when emotions are running high and you're like, oh, things are gonna go, I'm gonna end up, and then like all this, I have to cut that out. And you have to I've learned to breathe, and I've learned to find my anchoring spots. Like I go outside, or if I go outside, if I go in certain spaces, like, I don't know, me and the floor go together. Like I will sit on the floor and just all of it clears out, and I can actually process things. And so then I say, okay, you have this feeling, you have the prediction. What is the final emotion? And then once I have the final emotion, then I say, okay, why do we feel this? I feel this because this happened. This is what I'm predicting. And so now I feel this. So now I can work with. So I try to have, educated panics. That's what I call it. Educated panic, where if I'm panicking because there is a sense of urgency that requires me to be urgent. But even still, it's not even necessarily a panic. It's just me moving with urgency. But other than that, I just try to stay calm and process it. But I just love this state because you actually have the capacity to do it. Because before I was so reactive to everything. Every single thing I was reactive. And go back to Kiana's comment. She said, when we believe we have the tools and capacity, we panic less. We have to know that we are fully capable of working it out. It could be today, tomorrow, or sometime to come. Absolutely, Ken Luby. Not about the how, the if, it's just the when. And the when it's up to you as much as it can be. You just do the work. And so that's the balance part. Just doing the work. For me, I'm trying to find the balance. Of course, I don't want to do anything, because the other byproduct of surrender is you don't want to do. You realize, like, what? Employment is not my thing.
Not a thing.
It's not my thing. And you just get exhausted looking at people work, and I'm like, ew.
So this is the thing too that I noticed, is that I am in a state with where I'm at now. It's like an intense amount of balance, and that's the thing. Like, I'm learning that I don't have to exert myself the way I did, and I'm getting used to it. Like I told you, I took a nap today, and I'm like, oh, because I did work, and I was great. I was like, okay, and then I was like, but I just feel like I want to rest, and so I rested, and it was just like, you can shift the paradigm of what your new normal is going to look like in your surrender state of flow. And of course, it doesn't happen like right away. Of course, it's not like I could just, okay, that's it. There's layers and there's levels to it, but you have to allow that to happen. It's a gradual thing. Because even me sitting, I'm like, going through this new phase, I just thought and expected that I was going to go through the changes that I typically went through during any period of breakup or change or anything. And I'm more balanced. I'm more like, I have more time to think, sit with myself, and learn myself. Like, I will never, like, I'm telling you, the advice I could give to anybody is to really get to know yourself on a deep level, because you're never ever going to meet somebody to the level of depth that you want if you are not meeting yourself there first. Absolutely. And because I value depth, I cannot do small talk. I hate it with a passion. Because by the time we did the small talk, I done already read your whole life, so it just wasted my time. But it's just it's just so amazing to be able to just say, okay, what is this, and deal with it head on. Even if it's a feeling that is not the most desirable, as you said. Like, I just recently was dealing with the concept of anger and the powerful aspect to it, and that came through a lot of my surrendering to me, because I had to be honest with my feelings, because anger is actually a beautiful emotion, but it has a very, very negative.
Lord, so I guess we lost her again. She's do whatever she wants to do today.
They say, yeah, girl, switch it up now. But
like, you know what? But yeah, go. You were talking about anger.
Yeah, no, it's a very powerful emotion that you can have, but I didn't have these layers of permission to explore them, because before I would never surrender to them. But now I have that power of permission where I can give myself that and say, well, what do you feel? Like, what about this is this? And just date you, know you, learn you, and surrender to those layers. What do you do when you get in panic mode? Learn yourself to the point where you know how to talk to yourself, and you're not questioning, because the answer's going to come. It's going to be like, hey, we didn't like this. And now you're not going to wonder. You're going to be like, okay, now I know what I need to talk to this
Yeah.
my inner child about. My shadow self is playing the soundtrack. It don't fit no more. So you'll know what to do when you sit with yourself. It's the most under, like, it's so valued, but it's so underrated. And it's like the key, one of the keys to like your peace for real is just being like, okay, I accept this.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the importance of being honest too.
Oh gosh.
Because
you have to.
With surrender, you have to have radical honesty. You can't sugarcoat with yourself. When getting to know yourself, you have to be honest with yourself on the good and the bad, because we have a natural tendency as humans to always kind of blow up who we are and say that we're these amazing beings because I love me and da da da. Yeah, we're not saying you're not. However, you do have some, again, as we said, as I said, contrasting qualities to who you need to be that you need to work on, right? And so it's also about that honesty and being honest with yourself, being honest about who you are, being honest on the areas that require your attention, being honest on how people, also being honest on how people show up in your life. Because we also have a natural tendency to overhype other people's actions. I was reading something and they were talking about how if you are crying and a friend comes and sits with you, and in our mind, we're telling ourselves the narrative, oh my God, that person is there for me and they're such a good friend and blah, 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 blah. You don't know if that person was sitting there thinking about what they was going to eat for dinner and hoping you would shut up, But all we see is this person being there, and we tell ourselves like, oh my God, that's so amazing, putting them on a pedestal they don't belong on, right? So this is where the honesty comes in and say, okay, this person showed up and you see things for exactly for what they are. I'm not saying don't appreciate it, but I'm saying don't hype it. Same thing with you. Like, don't hype what you're doing, because if you know that you are not being fully honest with yourself and doing the work for yourself, be honest with yourself. And then sometimes I hate when people, well, for me, I'm speaking for myself, I hate when people try to say, oh, everything's fine. Like, no, at this point, I need to do more. And it's like, okay, I have the surrender, but I also, my life, I live a busy life. I have people that count on me. I have like all kind of stuff that I have to kind of snap out of it for, you know what I mean? Because I have other people's livelihood dependent on me. So surrender's going to look different on everybody. So it doesn't make anybody's surrender better, less. It doesn't matter. It's the point is, don't get so caught up. Oh, well, this is what happened for her, and this is how it's going to happen for me. No, that's where the honesty comes in, and being honest with yourself and understanding that I have to go into this with my own path and being honest about what your actual obstacles are going to be, and saying that, yes, I'm in the state of surrender, but I have a child. Yes, I have a state of surrender, but I have this. These things require my attention. And then, like she said, finding that balance and realizing that even though you don't have to exert yourself, you still have to do the work. Because a lot of times what I see with talking to some people in the past, they've been like, oh, everything's going to work out in my good, so I just lay here. And it's like, you can do that. You have that time. But some people be laying there, don't work on nothing. Just hope it all just comes.
That's not how it works.
That's not how abundance works. It's just like Bible says, faith without works is dead. Absolutely. Replace abundance for faith. Like, you still have things to do. You are still a human operating on this earth. You have to do the things. And so it comes to a point where you have to really, again, be honest with yourself. Because I think you had a moment the other day where you were saying like, oh, you realized you were procrastinating. Was that what you said?
Oh, yeah. I'm procrastinating.
Yeah. That's an example of what I'm saying. Being honest with yourself and saying, girl, you're procrastinating.
Yeah, I need it because, it's so crazy because when you know what your tendencies are, you also know what they show up as. And this is part of like learning you, right? Because you start to know where it stems from. When stuff gets too real for me, the procrastination sets in because it's triggered my worthiness. I know that. See, I'm like, see, I did that. I learned that. Yeah. I sat.
See, that's a good example of the honesty we speak of right there.
So now I know that when my procrastination happens and I can see, okay, this is what's going to happen, I have to check in because I'm like, You don't feel worthy that this is going to happen, or you don't feel worthy that when it does come up, you deserve it. So therefore, you procrastinate and you missed opportunities. What's meant for you is never going to pass you by, but that doesn't mean that the opportunities won't be delayed because of your
Absolutely.
procrastination. So
Exactly.
I had to sit with myself, and these are the things that when you are honest with yourself truly, and you can face those shadow attributes that you have that are just hidden there, like in playing a lovely tune of some false narratives, you have to now address it and be like, oh, we don't like that song, there's a remix now. Okay.
Right.
And bounce to that beat. And that's what I do. So I had to have a moment of truth, like, are you honoring your body, or are you procrastinating? And then of course my spirit team came through with all the angel numbers and all the signs and all the birds and chirps and all the things. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, all right. So I was procrastinating. All right.
Yeah.
Cards and self-sabotage came out. It's like, okay, y'all are telling me, I hear you. So you have to sit with yourself and be open to receive it. If you're closed off to receive it, it's not going to just happen for you. A lot of people want to hear what they want to hear, and that's not how it works either.
Yes. And it's important that you're also honest to the people that are close to you, all those things. Like, for example, when she goes in her mode, she had a moment and she said, hey, look, this is what I do. I don't know what to tell you. This is what I do. And because I'm an actual friend, I said, okay. Now I know. But I say that to say this. If I would have reacted a different way, that would have been a sign for her that I don't need her in my life. So that's why it is good to be honest with the people, because that is a way, that's like a catalyst to be able to, for them to filter themselves out. To where if I'm honest with you and you can't take my honesty, or if I don't feel like, and just like the person I was talking about earlier, if I don't feel like I could be my true, authentic, honest self with you, whether I said it or not, if my body is telling me, that's a sign. So it's just, surrendering is all about listening and being still enough to see the things that you missed otherwise. Because if we're moving and dashing and fulfilling this person and doing that, you don't hear yourself, you don't feel yourself. Because that's another thing, when you first start to do this, you start to feel pain you didn't even realize you had, because you were so busy being distracted by life, distracted by other people's needs. Then when you finally start listening to yourself, you're like, damn, I had this back pain this whole time.
Yeah. And you don't notice it until it's gone. That's
exactly. And then you feel like,
I was like, I'm healed. I'm healed. Like,
yes. And then it's like, then your body just starts to just like, it just starts to shift. You start to want to eat different. You start to want to do things different. Everything just needs to be different. You want your experiences to be different. You crave fulfillment. You crave happiness. You crave peace. Everything just feels beautiful. I don't know. Like, it's like, I'll see videos of like, moments of people reacting. And I'm just like, oh my God, the world is such a beautiful place. I feel everything deeply. And I was already soft to begin with. So now I'm like, I nailed it, baby. And I'm good with it. But the thing is, I'm good with it. I don't even try to hold back no more. I'm just like, look, yep, that's me. Am I crying? Absolutely.
Because it's still a process for me. Still a process.
That's why I say everybody's journey is gonna look different.
Let me tell you make me cry, and then they ain't happy tears.
I don't care.
I don't know, child. I'm like, ooh, now we're gonna have to cut the cord. This is crazy. Cords are cut.
Yeah. It's like, for me, I don't care. My vulnerability is just out in full force. But the thing is, it's in full force, but that doesn't mean I'm stupid, right? So I understand that. And it's like people think like, oh, no. And that's when you get shut down, because that goes back to the self-esteem and understanding who I am. So even though I cry more and I'm more emotional, I also am in full understanding now who I am and what I'm worth, and how much of a privilege it is to have access to me. Just because I'm crying and doing that doesn't mean I don't know that, because I will flip it real quick when necessary, But it's like, I don't even feel the need to even flex that. I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna be me, Yes, I'm soft, and if you find out, you fuck around, you find out. That's about it. Right. I'm just like, I'm here, I'm doing me, I'm being my full self, and I'm just focused on being my full self, because I now understand that the key of all the things that I want is me operating as my full self unapologetically on all fronts. and being open and attracting everything that I know that I deserve, and just pouring into me. I just keep pouring into me and pouring into me and pouring into me and finding new things about myself and learning my new, learning everything about me and really, transmuting the negative things that I dealt with in the past. And everything else is just literally working itself out on its own.
Yeah, and it will. And vulnerability is a brave thing. And it shows up differently for everyone.
Mhm.
Vulnerability for you is being emotional and showing your emotions. Vulnerability for me is sharing experiences that I would heal in silence.
Yeah,
You
because I was about to say that because you
Yeah,
damn
that's
sure did it today.
yeah. And I was like, I wasn't even gonna, and I wasn't even gonna share. And then like literally like a
It
few minutes
just
before I
tugged
was
at you. Yeah.
asking, we
That
didn't
means
even talk
someone
about
needed to hear it. That's what
I'm
that
like,
means.
we didn't even talk about this.
You sure did.
so, so that's why it's just like sometimes your vulnerability, because me, I'm used to healing in private, but the new thing is to heal out loud, because it's not a bad thing. You want people to live out loud. Well, we experience stuff in public, so we experience things loud. We're living on social media, we're living in on a big screen and for everyone to see. So why not have your healing be just as transparent as the things that you're transmuting, right? Like, so I just,
Yeah. And you
it's,
just surrender. People always say, well, I don't want to tell my business. Like, okay, but you just really just listening to your body, and whatever your body says to share, you share.
yeah.
Because just like last time, right? We shared all that stuff, and how many people came back and was like, oh my God, that was my exact experience. Thank you for speaking on that.
Yeah.
So we know that we're here. The whole point, surrendering is how elevate and relate is a thing. Let's talk about it, because we are both here to give ourselves practice on just surrendering and saying, like, whatever, we're just
We're
doing
gonna
this thing.
see.
Yeah, we're like, it'll grow, it'll do whatever, but we're just showing up. Like, we're just focused on showing up for ourselves and seeing things, as they should be seen. And child, we didn't win. I guess we did hit every note.
Did we not?
Organically. I stopped looking at the paper.
I just started having a conversation. I don't know. I'm like, what did we
I
miss?
don't know. It doesn't matter. I feel like we touched it. We're going to surrender to the surrender paper.
Yes,
But
this is a surrendered episode. And so
yeah, it literally, because
full
I swear
energy
everything
of
went
the
wrong. We're just like, it's okay.
See, we're consistent on all fronts.
Yes. So we can go to our mind shift moment. I cannot read today.
Mind shift moment. Okay. So let's see. Top mind shift moment. I think, because there's a few things. So I think for me, my mind shift moment with this surrender aspect of where I'm at now is to honor my body and allow my body's truth to be validation as well. My logical mind does not have to be the sole proprietor of validation for the decisions that I choose to make. And so honoring my body in that truth and in that space is equally important. Because I did have a little epiphany, like, you know what, the reason why, because, in the midst of my decision making of pivoting in life, I was told, you have all these mood swings. And I was like, and I said, like, I do got mood swings. I am temperamental. And I had to think, who am I temperamental to? And then I had to think, why? Well, when you have your gut, your heart, and your mind aligned, and your logical brain, like, well, we ain't got evidence, and we logical. Now you got me all misaligned on that. So now, yes, I'm mad at you because you're the one that's making me misaligned. You're getting and so I understood then, like, I'm misaligned. That's why I feel like this. I'm not at ease. And so, just honoring that aspect, I would say, is really trust yourself, trust your body, listen to you, get to know you. Those are all key components, even in the smallest things. It could be the smallest thing. Should I take a left at this light, or should I just take a right? Should I go the right way home, or should I just take a detour? Those are all small little tests that help your agility testing with your trust and with yourself and with your inner knowing and inner understanding of you. So I would say start there, because you'll learn lessons along the way. You'll learn a ton of things. I learned so much that my choices on fated connections doesn't necessarily mean that these are my destined destinations, right? They're just pivots and parts of where I'm supposed to go. That free will, that choice, that happens during your fated connections of people, places, things, and opportunities. So, you may have a route that you like to go to, but you decide to take a right instead of a left. Well, now it doesn't mean that you're not going to get to where you're going. It means that you may have maybe a smoother road, because the last one they was doing construction on the other side, so you don't know. So it's just, there's all these different things that come from it, but it comes with you being open to receive and being willing to trust.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I guess I'm supposed to say something. You
You
basically
are.
said what I was to say.
You're supposed to say something. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, for my mind shift moment, yeah, same as she said, because you literally covered everything I was going to say.
God dang it.
But so for me, I just really again want to stress the honesty, because I feel like honesty is so important, and especially being honest with other people, and practice using your voice, practice stepping outside of your ego, practice, not trying to look over things, because we are conditioned to create, like you said, false narratives. You have to be able to recognize when it's the false narrative. Are you telling yourself a comfortable lie? Because like I said before, you kind of get addicted to some things, and you would never think that you would be addicted to heartache or addicted to whatever. But if you deal with something long enough, your body craves it just like it would a drug, right? So it's like you have to think about that. Think about a drug addict. And a drug addict, they know consciously that the drugs are hurting them. They know. But subconsciously, they can't quit because they are deriving something positive from that negative experience. Whether it makes logical sense in their mind, our mind is more powerful than anything around us. So you have to think about it like that. That, okay, if I'm craving this thing, why am I craving it? Why am I giving this person so many chances? What is this person? What value? What's the return on energy investment for this person? Like, look past the moment and look past the feelings and the narratives that you are, accustomed to saying, because when you are, again, it goes again to being honest with yourself and realizing, for me, I have been so addicted to being adaptive and being addicted to being, in poverty, that when you talk to me about wealth, I freeze, because I'm like, oh, wait, no, we're not doing that. He talked to me about success, I used to freeze, so now I'm just now coming around. So I'm literally catering to those needs as if it's an addiction. And I say, okay, for you to, overcome the feeling of poverty, you have to be around people who are not constantly talking about it. Because it's like a drug. Somebody just put like the crack next to you and saying, but don't smoke it though. No, you have to be very mindful of your environment. Be mindful of the people that are around you, because where we make a lot of mistakes is we are committed to growth, but we're not committed to shedding to get the growth that we're asking for. You're not committed to letting things go. You're not committed to, creating an environment because we want to hold on to things because we've had them so long. We want to hold on to things because the world says we should. We want to hold on to things. And here's a good one, because so many other people would be so happy to have what you have, or somebody, but all these different lies we tell ourselves. But it's like, if it doesn't align now, it damn sure is not going to align then. And that's the harsh truth, right? So you have to be comfortable spoon feeding yourself harsh truths, because what makes sense to the world doesn't always make sense to your growth. So you have to be very mindful and be honest and understand what your alignment looks like at that moment. Don't worry about tomorrow. What does my alignment look like today? And it's like she said, it's okay if it changes. But right now, what does it look like? If I were to, get everything that I'm wishing for today, would this person align? With this thing align, with this activity, this habit, whatever, and everything has to complement everything that you're doing. Your habits, your, all the things, like you have to make time to honor yourself every day. Like, even if it's just a minute, practice being present. I'll give you a little trick that I've been doing that's been helping a lot. I'm learning, my goal, like, fuck all the other stuff. My goal right now is being present, like for real, So I will randomly throughout the day just be like, my name is Nina Carr. The date is blah, blah, blah. This is the time. I'm looking at this. I see a blue tree, a black car, this, that, it's a present check, And so I remind myself, okay, this is what the day is. And I'll touch myself. This is what I feel. And it helps. It's actually helping my mind practice becoming present. So now I'm starting to notice things that I didn't notice before, because now my mind is starting to be more present within itself. And I'm basically learning how to reintegrate myself into the world, because like Jasmine said, she's so used to, she's having a hard time going back outside, because once you make that level of shift, everything gets foreign and weird. And you're like, I don't know what y'all doing out there, but it looks ghetto, right?
It's so horrible.
It looks ghetto. So you literally have to baby step your way back into the world. And again, being honest and trusting where you are, and knowing that, okay, I'm in a new version of me. I'm in a new version of life. I'm in a new mindset. Give yourself grace, knowing that you're new, and baby step your way and reintegrate yourself back in the world. But also, like she said, also be honest with yourself and understand whether you are healing or avoiding, because that's something I fell into for a long time, where I was just avoiding people. And I'm like, do I not want to date because I am trying to focus on my healing, or do I not want to date because I'm afraid that I'm going to mess up? Right. So it's some conversations that have to be had. But yeah, like I said, be honest, be accountable, baby step, see things for exactly what they are, watch your narratives, be okay with not being okay when that happens. You are not failing at surrendering if you feel like you're still human. You have those moments. But like she said, like I said, you just find a way to navigate. That's all.
That's it. And your emotions are healing for you. They feel that for a reason, whether they're the positive ones or the negative ones, right? They're there to signal something in you. And if you look at your body as an alarm system of like what's going on, then it takes so much of the pressure of the criticalness. We're so critical with ourselves. If you take that critical aspect out and replace it with curiosity, it's so much different.
So much,
what's on, girl? What's up? Let's have lunch. Okay.
Yeah, let's have lunch.
And I do.
Right.
I be having wonderful lunches over here. But with a table of one, and whoever decides. But it's nice because you really get to sit and get to the root of it, and it doesn't become so daunting. It doesn't become like, oh, I'm dealing with all this stuff. It's like, oh, this happened, or this is triggering that, or hey, maybe it's triggered a wound. Sometimes things in life, especially when you surrender and then when you integrate, right? Because about this integration thing, I've been super selective with my integration. It's sad. Like I'm like, so like, it's so sad. Like I'll book a flight before I'll go down the street to see people that I know, because I'm like, ooh, but over there, they're more.
You know what to expect. That's why you're like, I want a part of that.
So different. I'm like,
I feel it. Every bit of that. Yes.
So it's different, but at the same time, it's just something where you really have to sit with yourself and figure out, okay, like what are we feeling? What's going on? Why don't we want to do it? Do we feel like we're gonna fall back into a trap, or do we feel like we just don't align? Because sometimes it's just a misalignment, and if it's a misalignment, you don't force what doesn't fit. It don't fit. So
Yeah, and be open to new alternatives too. So it's
make that new, because you can't operate as a CEO talking about I'm still showing up as who you are, whoever you are now. CEOs be flying and going to see the other people that don't go down the street. That's why I know we want to go down the street. We want to get on that flight.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because everything happens organically. So your taste is going to change anyway. So it's like and this is just regular, logic. Yes. If you want new life, if you want a new mindset, you have to have new experiences anyway. So why in the world would you go back to doing the same things or being in the same places and being with things that in your mind are going to trigger the old side of you? I literally had to tell a friend the other day, I said, listen, don't do that. He's like, why? I was like, because when you do that, it triggers a version of me that I no longer resonate with. So, and he was like, wow, really? Yes, really.
For real.
But I said, Like that the person, when you do that, it triggers emotions that I'm trying to no longer feel. It doesn't align. I don't need people. I need people that give me space. And again, like, be very clear with yourself and other people, and know what you need in this season, and know that it's going to change. It's going to move. That's just the way it works. That's how change works. Like, you can't avoid it. You can't run from it. You can't force fit it. You can't do anything, because guess what? If you force fit it today, it's going to make you vomit tomorrow. I guarantee.
Promise. Okay. Promise.
Exactly.
And you know, it's crazy. The thing about it too, when you have these energetic shifts, truly, you don't even, it's almost like you don't recognize yourself.
You don't.
Because even when I was trying
to look in the mirror, I see somebody new.
I'm like, I'm in this space of like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm an alchemist. Clearly, that's what it is. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what to call it. But it's nice. It's like, this alignment is insane. It's like, I just sit and I receive. There are times I work. There are times there's a time and a place, there's a balance. And I'm like, I never had this level of balancing before. So it's new in this new space. So I'm like, I don't even know what to call this. And I don't even know who's showing up. And I don't even know.
You don't even, it's whatever.
And that thing, and this is what surrender looks like, when you don't know what you're about to say 20 minutes before you get on, and you say something different, and then you just roll with it. And it's beautiful when you're able to do it. And once you do actually fully surrender, like fully, it's the most easygoing feeling. You're like, why didn't I do this a little long ago? Why did it take me so long? I'm like, why did I pile all that stuff on my plate all the time?
Run around like a chicken with a head off. What did it get me? Yeah, exactly. And just a bunch of, I don't want to like say the word regret, but a bunch of experiences that did not, work in my good for that time, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But one thing I also want to point out too is you are going to get a lot of pushback from the world. Okay. I also want to forewarn that, because people, and it's rarely, I want to say never, but we're going to give, you never know. Humans do what they do. It's rarely personal. Okay. So again, it's usually people are so accustomed to things being a certain way. And if you approach it in your way, they're going to push back. I'm telling you this because as a part of your surrender, you also have that in the back of your mind always. So when they're doing this, you're like, oh, look at you projecting. Oh, you have sophisticated, and you don't worry about being right, but just know, and your body will show you as you grow, like, they're projecting, boo. They don't mean that.
You have to just witness it. You have to just let it show up.
You just have to feel bad for them. Like, I really wish I could just, put some of my surrender on you, but you're not there, and there's nothing. It's not like you're better than them. Let's also point that out. But you're still just like, we're in different spaces, and that's okay. You do you, I do me, and so you release a lot of anger, you release a lot of all that. You're just like, okay, do what you got to do, but people are going to push back because you are now operating in a space that is foreign to most people. Most people do not allow themselves to get in that space because they just don't care about themselves, because life doesn't leave enough room to do it, right? Because even for me and her, I can speak for us both. We are both blessed to have lives that give us some form of space. But there's some people that are driving 4 kids here, there, and everywhere. Da, da, da. So don't think that, one, if you are not at a certain level, you're failing yourself or anybody. That's not it. Life does what it does. We are living in a society that is literally designed to keep you distracted and literally designed to not give you much space to look within yourself. So if you feel at any point you're listening to us and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. Or you listen and you're like, well, I don't have this and I don't have that. First of all, you're starting off on the wrong foot because the whole point of this is you trusting yourself and trusting your journey. But outside of that, journeys look different. Lives look different. Our lives are the way they are, but you also have to understand we went through a lot of hell to get the lives that we have, and we're still having obstacles to overcome. So we're not saying that we're living this amazing, perfect life and we're just handling all things well. We are saying that we are at a point where we are able to hear ourselves over the noise, right? And you can too. But again, it goes back to that honesty and understanding your obstacles, and that's something Jazzy always been pumping into me. Your journey is your journey, my journey is my journey. Because I have my moments, so I'm like, well, why you get to do?
She do. She be like, well, I don't understand, but I got this book, and I be like, okay, like,
And
you know, and the thing about it is so funny because we end up coming up to similar conclusions, or you know, being or coming up with the same type of, we're on the same spectrum, right? But we have different processes. And one of the things I'm always getting on her about is sitting with herself. And so I'm so happy when she's like, I'm surrendering and I'm just being present. Because I'm like, yes, I've been preaching this for a long time.
yeah,
and in my short time of knowing her. But it just feels like, you know, because I feel like I know her forever. But it's so important. Like, it is so stinking important because no one knows you better than you. And you have so much more stuff. Like today, I was literally, and then we got it. Like, I know because I talk too much, but like, you know,
we both do. I was looking at the time like, ooh.
Cathartic. So, but I was doing a reading this morning. Like, I was doing a little checking with myself because that's what I do. My daily present moments is journaling and checking in with me. That's what I do. So I was doing that, and I heard something as I was doing my reading. And I was like, what is that? So I looked it up, and there's a book with the same title that they gave me. So I was like, oh, shoot. And I felt so good because what I'm realizing with my process is that there are some times where you have to, you know, you go outside, you're researching, and your validation will come within after. My validation's opposite. So I will hear and do what I do first. And then anything that I get outside, it's all confirmation of whatever I've confirmed for me on the inside. And so and this is a new, yeah. So I am now learning a layer of me because everyone's process is going to look different. And you have to release the control of expecting what the process is going to look like for you. So you can't always be like, oh, well, how come? Because the journeys are so different.
And you're
But
distracting yourself from yourself.
you end up really diluting the power of you and the power of your present because you start looking at why something is budding or blossoming or why they got this epiphany and mine's was delayed or mine's didn't come in that way. Right. So it's important.
It's not only wasted energy, you're also putting resistance in your path, right? Because
Absolutely.
one thing about the path is the path requires you to be fully present with yourself as much as the world allows, right? And you have to be very much so. You really have to keep your eyes on your own paper because there's so many distractions. And we're talking about distractions, you know, a lot. And a lot of the distractions that are there are usually your other versions of yourself inside of you trying to distract you from moving forward because, you know, the other side to you are like, wait, what are we doing? You have to get everybody on board. And it's like, you have to really, really focus on keeping your eyes on your paper and realizing that your journey is your journey. You're going to have so many varying opinions, especially with TikTok and all these different things. But you have to trust that whatever path that you're on, that's your path for a reason, and whatever insight that you get, and you're going to have different ways. Because like she said, it comes internally and she gets confirmation. I get sparked by things I see or things I read, and then it hits me. So I'll read like one sentence and it'll spark a whole thing. So I'm like constantly, I was like in this spot where I'm like, I'm gonna read more stuff, you know, because and then it's like I just love what I'm learning also. So it's like just a different pursuit because now I actually love what I'm learning and it sparks different things. Like I'll hear like one word or see one thing and it just sparks this whole thing. So it's like she looks within and then it goes out, and then I look out and then go within. But neither are wrong, right? And it just work based on because you also, one last thing, your personality matters, your upbringing matters, the way you do life matters. That's why it makes no sense comparing journeys, because even though our lives are eerily similar, we're still different people. And then like even at the stage that we met each other, we are both, you know, doing two different things, but at the same, but same. It's weird. I can't explain it. But the important thing is that I could look at her and say, oh, well, this is how she's doing it. We're so much the same, so it should work like that for me. No, we're still different people, had different upbringing, we live in different states, all of those things. Like it's totally different. So trust your path, keep your eyes on your own paper, trust yourself and listen to yourself and just listen to your body. But anything else you wanted to add? Because I know we didn't talk everybody ear off. Thank you for the people who are still here, because I know we be talking, but we're one thing we do have in common is we are very hyperverbal. We be talking about some good shit though.
We have girl. Okay. What do you want me to talk about? Okay, here we go. Because chances are I have an opinion on it. So
I know. I'm literally telling myself, shut down. I can talk for another 2 hours, but I gotta do what I gotta do.
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank y'all so much for joining us and for dealing with all the surrendering that happened.
Yes, especially with all the technical difficulties. If you managed to join us, we love you lots and love you long time. Because listen, that means you have to click something, and wow, what dedication is that? Because humans be like, click, ew.
I just look at
it. So that means that y'all really rock with us if you click something. Like, come on, like it gets listen. Probably have to search. But thank you, Mika. Thank you, Naomi. Y'all are riders. I love y'all to death. But yeah, that's all for today. Again, we will be back.
Oh shoot, what's 2 weeks from now? Like, oh shoot.
another instance of surrender.
Another instance. We don't know the dates, child.
We don't know what the day is. It's the 9th. May 9th, we will be there.
Okay. I'm like, wait.
Then you gotta say it with confidence, like you knew it the whole damn time.
And
I'm so May 9th, 7:00 sharp.
How do they be saying? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It's all good. But yeah, we will announce the next topic by Monday usually. But yeah, make sure you're following us on YouTube. If you're joining us on YouTube, if you are on Facebook, make sure you follow, like our page, Elevate and Relate Podstream. And yeah, make sure y'all interacting with our posts too, because we be posting questions and sometimes y'all don't be answering.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
I know. If you can click a button, you can type something.
Surrender to the post. Okay.
I know. But all right, y'all, we are out of here. Have a good night. Thank you again.
Bye. Bye.